What's good, y'all? Daryl G back at it with another reaction video. Today we're doing when fake muscles go wrong. Basically, we got a bunch of people shooting up steroids and causing some problems in themselves. This is something I'm familiar with, man. I spent years playing football all the way up through the professional level. Also work in the medical field as well. And I've seen a lot of cats using steroids, a lot of dudes in the gym with steroids, you can see it. You can see it, especially, when they are starting to add in all the other the human growth hormones and things like that. You can definitely see it. Hell, some of them famous Hollywood actors are using steroids. I mean, you don't gain 20 pounds of muscle for a part and then lose 20 pounds of muscle within the next year for another part. Something up with that. Y'all look at them old pictures of The Rock versus them new ones, like right after he quit wrestling, was doing that Tooth Fairy movie and that, what was that game? I can't remember, was it Game Day or something like that? Where he was a quarterback and he had a daughter that he didn't know about. Yeah, go look at that film and then look at him now. You don't gain that much muscle in your 30s and your 40s unless you're juicing. But let's see what happens when something goes wrong with that. Let's check this video out.
Number 9. Kirill Tereshin. After leaving the army, Russian man Kirill Tereshin went on a synthol program through which his arms grew 10 inches within 10 days.
Man, the
As a
Russians
result
were
of
experimenting
abusing
with
the
all
process,
kinds of stuff.
Tereshin would have dead flesh removed from his arms and face the risk of having his limbs
Oh,
amputated.
look at them arms.
Synthol is often characterized as a muscle building steroid, but it's actually entirely different.
He must have put a lot in
Anabolic
there
steroids
to make
work
that happen.
in a manner similar to testosterone and increase protein within cells, particularly in skeletal muscles. Synthol is mainly made up of oil, with low concentrations of lidocaine and alcohol. It's injected into muscles strictly for cosmetic purposes, and unlike anabolic steroids, plays no role in building functional muscle. Tereshin, nicknamed Bazooka in his home country, had injected nearly a gallon of synthol into each arm before they started turning.
That's what's kind of funny about steroids. Did you hear what he said about injecting it in your arms and it's just making no functional muscle, but it just looks good? Like, that's something you have to think about. I never used any steroids, mainly because I played offensive line and, we already just big dudes, right? We're just giant guys. And so we don't really have a reason to be cut up or fit because we're not going to have, most of us aren't going to have a six pack, man. We 300 pounds, right? So the idea that I would take something that doesn't even really help me functionally. Yeah, it can make me stronger in some ways, but it slows you down because it's more weight. You start getting too big and your arm is all like you can't even walk right and you can't even move. Your legs get too big. It's not functional. So I never thought about it, but man, a gallon of synthol in each arm, bruh. Think about your arms for a second. They can't hold a gallon of anything. They can't hold a gallon of blood barely in your vessels. Where you gonna put that gallon at? Take a gallon of water, put it up next to your arm. Don't make no damn sense at all. What was he thinking?
In purple, the limbs were horribly swollen, particularly when viewed in contrast with his slim frame.
So basically, it
Before long,
caused
doctors
compartment
told Tereshin
syndrome.
that abscesses had started to form and he was facing death or amputation. He had a high fever while experiencing severe pain and weakness. The synthol had saturated the muscle tissue and killed it by blocking blood flow. Doctors removed 3 pounds of dead muscle from Tereshin's artificially enlarged biceps with great precision,
They'll go to
so as to
roid
maintain
games.
the function of his nerves and veins.
Yo, them
It would
arms
be
are
the
gone.
first of several planned surgeries.
If you have
Number
no
8,
no nerves in your
Rambo.
arm, you're not going to build any muscle. I mean, you just can't
While
stimulate
the
the muscle.
mainstream attention that synthol has generated can mainly be attributed to instances of horrific abuse, the substance has even been used by professional bodybuilders. In competitions, the aesthetic and mass of the muscle is critical. Therefore, some bodybuilders will inject it in areas of their body that aren't as developed. The oil will rapidly enhance muscles that are lacking. It's also worth mentioning that in most countries, using synthol isn't illegal. The risks associated with it, however, are many
think about
and
that.
shouldn't be overlooked or taken lightly. It can cause
I did
stroke,
know
nerve
that. I
damage,
know that some
infections,
South American
and
countries,
pulmonary
you can
embolisms,
get it right over
as
the
well as
counter.
cysts, granulomas, and ulcers in the
Like
tissue.
antibiotics, things
Since
like
the
that,
muscle
all
isn't
available
properly
right over the
developed,
counter.
gravity may cause it to droop.
Oh man,
Such is the case of Synthol Rambo. He went viral on Brazilian social media due to his arms, which are obviously ill-equipped to handle
look
his
like
synthol
nut
use.
sacks hanging
The
off.
man, who emulates the action film character for his followers, has arms which look as if they're melting over his
How
elbows.
the fuck he look like
Some
Rambo?
experts have argued that his biceps and triceps could have already undergone severe trauma and may have become infected as a result of being overwhelmed by the oil. Number 7. Arlindo de Souza.
That's too many
While
chances
aware
you
of
taking
the
with your
dangers
life, man.
associated with
Just trying to
injecting
add a little
oil
bit
in
of
his
muscle.
body,
Nah.
Arlindo de Souza considered them a risk worth taking for having the biggest arms in Brazil. While the rest of de Souza's body was average-sized, his traps and 29-inch arms were in.
Let's appreciate the mental health aspect of this, the mental health portion of steroid use. I mean, it's clear that, look at this guy, like, he's not focused on any other part of his body, right? He's not trying to lose weight to get a six-pack. He's not trying to do anything else. He is literally injecting all of this into his arms. And you have to think about it. That's something going on up here. That's something going on in his mind, that he has got infatuated, that he has some type of uncontrollable urge to just get his biceps as big as possible, irregardless of strength, right? They didn't say he's going to be the strongest dude. He just wants them big. Just big.
Enormous. De Souza had already been taking a cocktail of hormones, steroids, and horse vitamins when he was introduced to synthol by one of his gym friends.
I'm sure a horse vitamin is pretty damn big. That's a big ass vitamin,
De
man.
Souza became addicted. He grew to an abnormal mass that earned him a reputation in his hometown of Olinda, where he was nicknamed the Mountain.
You got to be
His
strong
muscles
just to
became
lift your
so
arms.
large that they were deformed and unnaturally
Hey,
shaped.
you get a cup of water.
However,
You tired
his
as hell
strength
trying to
hadn't
reach for that
increased
cup.
as the man
Get you a
maintained
cup
the
of
same
water. You got to be
workout
thirsty
regime.
as I don't know
De
what.
Souza
You want to get that
eventually
cup.
stopped injecting the oil as more of his friends started experiencing adverse effects. Some developed infections that led to amputation, while one of his friends, Paulino, lost his life.
That's horrible.
It convinced de Souza to
That's
change
horrible.
his perspective on the filler, which he ultimately claimed that he didn't recommend to anyone. Still, de Souza admitted that the temptation to inject more oil was always there and that maintaining control was a constant battle. Number 6.
You know he got all
UK
his boys on
bodybuilder
that.
Injects coconut oil.
Coconut
An unnamed
oil.
man from the UK went to the doctor with a ruptured tricep as the result of abusing various muscle enhancements. 4 years prior, the 25-year-old had taken up bodybuilding and was going to the gym regularly. Over the course of several months leading up to the doctor visit, the man experienced severe pain in his arm and had trouble moving it.
Yeah.
An ultrasound then revealed a tear in the tendon that connected the bone near the elbow to the triceps. The doctors also noticed that multiple cysts had formed in his arm muscle. When asked about it, the bodybuilder admitted that he'd been injecting coconut oil into his muscles to increase their definition and size. He'd also been using anabolic steroids, which
You just
in
cut off the
combination with
blood
oil,
supply.
had stiffened the muscle and caused the rupture.
You just cutting off
The bodybuilder had a rather unsettling history of
the
abusing
ability
his
for the
health
lymphatic
for the
tissue
sake
to
of
drain.
muscular gains. He'd injected insulin without a
So
prescription,
that pus can't even
which
move.
led to him
That cyst,
experiencing
you know, if you get a
seizures.
pus that builds
He'd
up, it
also
can't even
injected
move.
himself
Your
with
lymphatic tissue,
vitamin
that's what gets
B12
rid of it. You
and
can't even
developed
get rid
a
of it.
bacterial infection. The
Yeah.
operation on his triceps
And
was
then you
a
inject it
success,
with
but
dirty needles. That's where a
according to
lot of
his
these cysts
medical
come
reports,
from.
the
Fucking with
man
these dirty
wouldn't
needles.
be dissuaded of his risky bodybuilding practices. Number 5. Mustafa Ismail. At one point in time,
People don't realize,
Massachusetts-based bodybuilder
The
Mustafa
effect
Ismail
that going
held
to the
Guinness
gym and
World
seeing
Record
big
for the
dudes
largest arm
has, like,
circumference at a
you go to the
staggering
gym every day for
31
years and
inches.
years,
Ismail's upper arms
and
were
all of a
larger than some
sudden,
people's
you know, you
waists.
keep going to the gym
However,
and you just see these dudes in
Guinness
there that are
subsequently
huge and you
stopped
just never get that
accepting claims for
size.
arm proportions because
You know,
they came with
so
too
some
many
people, they just go,
variables
man,
to be
I want to get that
undisputed.
size no matter
This
what,
basically
whatever it
meant that
takes.
some
And
strength
that's how they get
athletes
hooked.
actually trained to attain gigantic mass, while others opted to inject synthol, and the ensuing debate would find no resolution. Ismail was, as argued by many experts of the fitness industry, in the category of athletes who injected synthol. He was referred to as the Egyptian Popeye.
Oh, come on,
and claimed
bruh.
his enormous arms were
Y'all don't know
strictly
he
the
on
result of
droid. He
high
on
food and water intake,
synthol.
as well as
Look how
a
soft the
grueling
muscles
workout
look.
regime.
The muscles don't even look
Still,
defined.
the
That's got
outstanding
synthol
difference
written
between his
all over
arms
it.
and the rest of his average-sized body warranted suspicion.
Yeah.
Moreover, such an extreme level of synthol use would undoubtedly have severe complications in the long run. It's not
Oh, man,
uncommon
that
for
steroid
synthol
use all
users
day, you got
to
one
become
part of your body
addicted in
huge.
equal parts to the injections, as well as the attention that they receive for their swollen muscles. For Mustafa, a former world record holder, the desire.
And again, if you look at that bicep, there's no definition. You know, you look at the tricep, it just looks like it's hanging off the bone. It looks like it's not even attached. Like it's just, like I said, some bull testicles or something hanging off the bottom. And then the forearm is completely underdeveloped in comparison to the bicep itself. So again, this just tells you, the more you look at it, the more signs you see that something's wrong. You look at the tries up here, you know, or the traps, they're not there. You look at the neck's not enlarged at all. You know, when you see big guys, all of these things work in concert together. When you build a muscle, all of this works together. You can't do one without at least working the other a little bit, some. And he has no definition, no size, no anything other than in the biceps and the triceps. I don't understand how this looks good. If this looks good to you, put it in the comment section. I guess it might, but to me,
desire to maintain his mass would cause him to
don't make
further
sense
endanger his health. Number 4,
like a
Romario
young guy
dos
too.
Santos Alves. Bodybuilder Romario dos Santos Alves turned to synthol injections in order to
Again, look at
model
that
his body
irregular
after
shaped
that of
bicep.
The Hulk,
Bicep just looks
his
like it's
favorite
hanging off of the
superhero.
bone. Doesn't even
He'd
look like it's
eventually struggled
connected.
with a synthol addiction that almost cost him his life. Dos Santos Alves started injecting the oil in 2012 after moving from his hometown to Goiânia in Brazil. He was introduced to the filler by his friends at the gym. The bodybuilder would inject the oil constantly until his arms ballooned up to 25 inches in circumference. They became full of rock-like cysts, and the man could no longer inject himself with regular needles. Still, he needed his synthol fix, so he bought and used the strongest needles on the market, a type that was only used on bulls. After learning about the dangers of synthol,
Yo,
his
it's time to
wife
take a
made it
break,
clear that
dude.
He had to choose between
You
their
gotta take a
relationship
goddamn break.
and the risky substance.
You sticking bull
Dos
needles in
Santos
your
Alves
ass?
became severely
Come
depressed
on,
and even
man.
tried to take his own life when his wife was 6 months pregnant. He was subsequently removed from his job and hospitalized. He decided he had to give up the filler that had already begun to cause him severe health problems. Dos Santos Alves was in constant pain and almost suffered kidney failure as a result of the infection. Doctors told him that the only course of action was to amputate his arms, but they were ultimately successful in removing the cysts, and the bodybuilder kept his limbs.
Yeah, but after
Number
they took
3,
all those cysts
German
out,
bodybuilder
them limbs were
injects
done.
sesame
Them limbs
oil.
were done.
For 8 years, an unnamed semi-professional German bodybuilder injected himself with sesame seed oil on a daily basis. This caused irreversible damage to his muscles.
Where y'all
He
get this
developed a
shit from?
systemic
Sesame
infection
seed oil?
and red swellings over his right arm, which prevented him from
I don't
lifting weights.
understand.
The man had injected the sterilized sesame seed oil at numerous intramuscular
Who told you to do that
locations
shit?
in
You
order
gotta
to
whoop
get
their
bigger
ass.
muscles. An MRI was performed, and it
I bet
revealed
nobody
over
told him. He
100
just read some shit
intramuscular
online
oil
and just said,
cysts.
well, I'm going to put it in there.
Septic surgery of his right arm showed that normal muscle was almost completely absent, and there were no signs of muscle regeneration. The
Damn.
mutilation to his muscular tissue was so extensive that years later the man still experienced pain and was unable to perform weight training. Today's topic was requested by Instagram follower at tdieshirt89. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below, or follow us on Instagram and reach out to us there. Number 2, Valdir Segato. Brazilian bodybuilder Valdir Segato abused synthol in order to turn himself into what some have called the real-life Hulk. As a youth, Segato was addicted to drugs
Well, he
and
looks
had become
weird.
severely emaciated, and he was called hurtful nicknames like Skinny Dog. Segato vowed to get
There's that
big.
mental health
He gave
again,
up
man.
drugs and went to the gym, but soon found that synthol was the quickest route to the bulk he wanted. He became addicted to the substance, which he kept injecting into his body into his 50s. He went from 120 pounds to 177, with oil accounting for most of that extra weight. His chest, arm, shoulder, and back
You got to think
muscles
about that.
became
50
incredibly
pounds of
swollen.
muscle. That's a
Even though
lot
his
of
arms
weight.
measured 23
And again,
inches,
like I said, a
barely
lot of
came to
that
his
is just the
bones.
synthol sitting in
Segato
there.
wanted to get
It's just the
even
oil sitting in there
bigger.
because it
He
can't
was
get
warned
out.
by
It's
doctors
trapped.
to stop injecting synthol.
I got
as he faced
15, 20
irreparable
pounds of
nerve
oil
damage
just
and
sitting
even
in his arms
amputation.
and his chest. Look at his
Regardless,
chest. It looks
Segato
like,
was entirely committed to his
looks like
dangerous
breast
lifestyle
tissue. Doesn't look like
and
muscle.
used the social media
It looks
handle
like fat.
Valdir Synthol. He reveled in the attention he was given and the reputation he had as a monster on the streets of Sao Paulo.
Hey, but Joe, that was a good video though. But yeah, man, you can't deny that there's a mental health issue that goes with wanting to use these steroids. Sometimes it is just a guy wants to get a little bigger or something like that. He sees somebody that in the gym that he wants to look like, or he wants to emulate some of these bodybuilders. And I get it. You know, my biggest issue with the bodybuilding industry, and movie actors, all these guys, is they're not truthful about what they're doing. They're not truthful about the fact that they're using steroids and stuff. They'll come out and say, I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that. Now, you got a lot of guys on YouTube that are truthful about it, that talk about regiments and rotations and stuff. And they also tell you the truth. There's no way to take this stuff and not have side effects, right? There's no way to take steroids and still be able to have the normal testosterone levels or levels that are made in your body. You're going to stop producing testosterone. Your nuts, your gonads are going to shrink, right? You're supposed to cycle on and off this stuff. But look, after years of using it, eventually you're going to become, it's going to become a medical issue where you have to take it. You're not going to make your own testosterone. Your androgen level is going to be near zero if you keep taking steroids. And you have to have androgen levels. As a male, you have to have them. As a female, you have to have them. Androgen turns into estrogen for women. As men, it just stays as an androgen and gets transferred into what we call testosterone. So you have no choice. And so if you shut off your natural production, then you're going to have to get prescribed testosterone the rest of your life. And it has so many issues. Issue with your cardiovascular system, your blood pressure, your heart. Remember Arnold Schwarzenegger? Everybody thought he was the most healthiest man in the world, that he was in all this great shape. He had to have a heart transplant fucking with this stuff. So it's going to come. And I know like people like The Rock and other guys, these actors and stuff, they try to act like they're not going to have any problems. Watch. Give them about another 10, 15 years. When they get into about the early 60s, they're going to have some serious problems. And that money ain't going to save them that they made from it. I know a lot of people look at that and they say, oh, they live a wonderful life. And they do. And there's a lot better ways of taking it now than it used to be. It's a lot more information out there as to how to do it. It's safer, but it's never safe. So don't fuck with it, man. Leave that stuff alone, man. But hey, if you enjoyed the video, if you liked the video, hit that like, hit that comment button. You know, let me know down below if you liked it. If there's any improvements, anything you suggest, holla at and let me know. Otherwise, it's been great, y'all. I'm out. Peace.